Namaskar. Very good afternoon, viewers. I, Dr. Renutomo, welcome you back again as to discuss Sociological Foundation of Education. Friends, this is part 4 of the series of lecture on Sociological Foundation of Education. In the previous lecture, we talked about that how education works as a tool as far as socialization is concerned, even social stratification is concerned, and how the socialization, the goal of socialization which the government has or the society has, how it is being maintained or it is being done by various societies through the school. So school is being explored as a channel to bring out the socialization, as well as the stratification is also something which is being taught to the school. Apart from that, we also discussed that education is actually a conscious tool. That is why we have the free education for all the children. So through education, we are not just preparing the children for their profession or their jobs, or just the role of education is not to provide the certificates or degree. The role of education is also to socialize, as well as to play an important role as far as social mobility is concerned or the social change is concerned. So friend, on this note, let us continue and start talking about that how education and social mobility are correlated. As far as social mobility is concerned, social mobility has been brought by various factors in the society, like religious institutions have brought social mobility. Similarly, the educational institutions have brought social mobility. Even the political organizations and economy, as well as we can say even the marriage, is a tool which functions as to bring the social mobility. Even the armed forces have been utilized by the people and seen from that perspective as to bring the social mobility. Like we know that in certain rural areas, if we want to be respected, then the best is that we should go for the armed forces, or we should go for certain sports. There are certain villages which are known for creating soldiers or creating sportsmen, and that is being seen by those societies or those rural societies as something which is recommendable and which is something which is appreciable. So that is why, as to enhance their social status, as to move from one cadre in which the person is born to another cadre where he is more respected, so that is being used as a tool. So friends, as we understand that armed forces or religious institutions, how religious institutions are being utilized for social mobility. We know that the people who are engaged in religious institutions, the Mahatmas or the Maulvis, they have more respect in comparison to they get respect of the society at large, because they are somehow related to the social institutions and those religious institutions, and those religious institutions are seen by the society at large from the respectable perspective. So thereby people join those religious institutions as to enhance their social status. And that is also one of a tool of social mobility. How does educational institutions work as a tool for social mobility? Educational institutions, when they make you literate, and when the person who is coming from the educational institution literate and understands more, he or she, due to the fact that he or she has more knowledge, more understanding, and is having better control of himself as well as the society around him, the result is that he or she gets more respect. So that is also a way of the social mobility. We know that previously also and presently also in quite many families, we see that the girls should be made teachers. The families make many efforts. Even the girls in the families also try to become teachers. Why? Because they understand that if they are earning in the educational institution, they will be respected more in the families also, like which families? In the families in which they will be married in. So those families are also going to respect them, and apart from that, the society around in which they would be living, because she is a teacher, and teaching is a job which is looked at with a great honor, and respect. So that way they would be able to get more respect. So educational institutions also work as a way of social mobility. And the political organizations, of course, we understand that if people have the political power or the political connection, so then naturally that person also get a kind of a recognition in the society, and due to that fact, that political organization is also perceived as a tool of social mobility. Another tool is economy. We have the class system based upon the economy. We have the rich class and the poor class. So economics is also one of a tool through which the people perceive it, that through having more money, they would be having the respect in the society. So that is also one of an area which is perceived by the people at large as a tool of their improving their status, because that is what social mobility is about. Another important tool, or we can say the expertise, is also one of a tool. Like the people who have expertise in certain things, expertise maybe if you are a doctor, you are having expertise in that professional field. If you are an electrical engineer, you have the expertise in that field. So because of having that expertise, you are able to join certain professional strata, and the result is that you have a different kind of a respect in the society. So that is why expertise is also looked at as a tool as far as the social mobility is concerned. And another important tool is marriage. Through marrying into particular families, or we can say through marrying in particular community, we are able to maintain the social mobility. Like that is also one of a tool of the social mobility. Friends, when we talk about social mobility, we have to understand, first thing which we understood was that education is an important channel for individual as social group to carry out the social mobility. Second is that through education, even the person who can read the books as well as who can understand the religious issues, who can understand the economic problem. So that is why education works as a tool, because the person who has joined education sector, they would be able to understand the society culturally, they would be understand the society politically, religiously, as well as the economically. So thereby the person who is educated will feel himself at a higher level. And another important aspect is that whenever the person is educated, the person understand that he or she has a more control over the society. So because the person has more control over the society, the person knows not only how to adapt but also knows how to intervene. So through education, we are preparing the structure of the work. We are also giving the possibility of someone improving their employment status. For example, with the status of the father's work, usually the family is correlated. We usually say that this is the medico family, simply because the father is a doctor. We say this is an engineer family because the father is an engineer. This is a teacher's family because the father is a teacher. So this is how the society view the families as well as individual. So work status is always compared. This is the reason why usually in the families which children also cribs off, that people keep on telling, the parents keep on telling, that you have to make us proud by becoming, if not the engineer of the same level of your father is, but at least of the, if you don't want to go upper, but at least you should be able to be as good as an engineer as your father has been or grandfather has been. That is why we have the families who says that the children should be going to the IITs because the grandfather went to the IIT, then the father went to the IIT. So the son should also, or the daughter should also go to the IIT. So that is a kind of a social status and the people have taken up. Similarly, the families also think that if the children can move to the IITs and be engineer from the IIT, then naturally that the likelihood of mobility from the low class or the middle class to the higher class is more probable. So education, the level of education as well as the brand of the education, or we can say the skill, the level of skill which is being taught to the child, that also decides the social mobility. So we have understood that social mobility is movement of social status, whether horizontally or vertically. Horizontally means just maintaining it, as we said that the marrying into the same community. Why are we doing it? So that we can maintain the social status. That is the horizontal way to maintain the social status. Vertically, by marrying into the family which is of higher level from the caste perspective, and that is why we have so many problems whenever we have the intercaste marriages, because that is being seen by the society as a tool of social mobility, by particularly those who are occupying the caste which is perceived at higher level from the religion point of view. So those castes see that whenever the person from the lower caste is marrying into the into the higher caste, that means the person is moving horizontally up, but the family is moving horizontally down because of the marriages not happening horizontally. So vertically, to maintain oneself, one uses the tool, the education is a tool, the economy is a tool which we have discussed, even the armed forces are used as a tool. So that is, they are used as a tool for maintaining as well as improving the social status. For maintaining social status, that means the social mobility is horizontal. If we are upgrading, that means it is vertical. So friends, we have understood that social mobility is both way, horizontal as well as vertical. Vertical is either we go up or down, and horizontal is that we maintain ourselves at the same level from the perspective of wealth, position, education, science or religion. So that is the social mobility, horizontal social mobility. Now friends, we have also understood that these are the aspects which add value, because they are considered of the value by the community. Community appreciates them. That is why it is seen as a tool. Like to give an example, in the Spartan society, the education was tailor made for creating soldiers. Why? Because that was need of the society, and the other people who were not soldiers, they were not looked with the kind of a respect, because the Sparta needed soldiers. So in fact, we have to understand that nation also creates a channel. What kind of channel, or we can say the perception, so that the people are motivated to move with that direction. So the value is also created by the nation, value is also created by the community, and thereby the individuals try to move up the ladder so that they can be appreciated, and that is termed as social mobility. So friends, we have to understand that social mobility is nothing but the transfer of social status, because of the fact that the status group is being perceived by the society or community or the nation at large as of the higher value or higher level. Another important aspect we have to understand, we have understood what social climbing is, we have also understood what social sinking is. Social sinking means that we are coming down to the lower social status group, that is the group is decreasing the degree, the group's degree is decreasing, that is why sinking. So how does education work as far as social mobility is concerned, or we can say bringing out social change is concerned? So friends, this is also very important. We have understood what social mobility is. Now to understand that how social mobility is brought out, now we have to understand that social change, when it happens in the society, when it is introduced in the society through education, then slowly and steadily social mobility as a concept is introduced, and the social mobility also happens in the society. So we have to understand that how social change, or we can say that the school works upon as a agent of social change. We have to understand that whenever we talk about social change, that means we are talking about changing the cultural inheritance, bringing out through the education, bringing out the changes in the perception, also preparing the individuals as to be appreciated. for that particular perspective. So, education, whenever is working as an agent of social change, either it can work in itself and does play no role as far as social change is concerned. How it works as it doesn't work as an agent of social change when it is simply working as a channel of information. If it is simply working as a channel of information, if it is not incorporating social change in itself in its system, then naturally we would say that the education is not working as an agent of social change. But usually education is determined keeping in view the social factors, and it is determined that it has to play a role in changing the society as to bring out the social change. Education is autonomous, but autonomous in only in such a manner that it has to induce, it is having the interrelationship with different other institutions also. Other institutions in the society would be like the society, the community, the other schools. Apart from that, it has a relationship with the religious orders over there, as well as it has a relationship with the social or NGOs which are working. So, education is autonomous, but that doesn't mean that education is a kind of an island. No, it is having interrelationship with the different agencies, the social agencies. And because it has relation with the different social agencies, that is why despite being autonomous, it works as an agent of social change. So, now we understand that whenever there is change in the education, social change will simultaneously occur. How does it occur? When we have the children dropping out just at the level of primary level, then we would say that they have just gained literacy, they are just literate, but they are not educated. Similarly, when the children have dropped out at the secondary level, we would say they are more literate, but again we would say they are not educated. When we have the people who have done doctorate, we would say that yes, they are the expert of that particular area. So, educational changes are bringing out the social changes. Similarly, when the education is also working as a tool as to make them competent, as to make them understand, to compete in various examinations, as to enter the different fields. For example, if the child wants to enter the armed forces, then it is the education which is preparing for him to enter the armed forces. If the child wants to enter the engineering, he wants to take up engineering as a career in future, then it is the education which is preparing him for that particular role. So, whenever we talk about the goals of the society, may it be the technological, may it be the society, or may it be the economic development of the country, these are the roles of the nation as well as role of the education, and in fact they are the long term role. How are we developing technological or scientific know-how of the children? By introducing the concepts at the different levels, and as the children moves on from one level to the another, from the primary to the secondary to the higher level, and then the higher education, then naturally the aim of the field of technological as well as the scientific or the economic development of the country is being achieved. Another important goal which is being perceived and is very important for bringing out in the society as to retain itself is social equality. So, this is also one of a role of the education, that is to reduce social inequality. How does education reduce the social inequality? By making all the genders sit in the same class, by making all the caste and community sit in the same class, and being viewed by the perceived by the people in the school in the same manner. So, that is how we are introducing the concept of social inequality, and indirectly and directly we are making our children perceive that equality is something which is acceptable and social inequality is something which is not acceptable to the society or to the nation at large. So, in a way we can say that education is working as a tool for reducing the forms of social inequalities. Apart from that, of course, because the education is also working as to make them citizens as well as the people of character and the socially and politically conscious members of the democratic society. So, we are introducing various aspects which are required, from their rights as a voter to their duties as the citizens. So, that is being introduced at various levels slowly and steadily. So, the characters of the citizen is being molded in the classrooms. In fact, if we talk about the social change, then the structural changes are also being introduced. How the structural changes are being introduced, we have understood that in our previous lecture also when we talked about the social stratification and socialization. So, I would not go into the detail as far as these are concerned. Now, let us try to understand that how does education facilitate the process of social change. First of all, we understood that whatever is expectation of the nation, that is being introduced as a curriculum. Whatever is expectation of the nation, that is being introduced as a culture in the class. Whatever is expectation of the society at large, that is being introduced as a practices in the class. So, that is one way in which education is facilitating the process of social change. In fact, it is also working as a facilitator for the process of social change by contributing to igniting, accelerating and sustaining the process of disseminating and cultivating knowledge, information, skill and values which are appropriate to the changing socio-economy and political structure. As we discussed in the previous, now we want our education system to introduce IT. We want our students to understand how coding is being done. Why? Because now it is a global market, and in the future the children will be requiring complete understanding of artificial intelligence. So, that is something which has to be introduced, those information has to be introduced, that knowledge has to be cultivated, those skills have to be incorporated by the children at large, and they have to imbibe new kind of values, that is technological values, as to become important global citizen as well as national citizen. So, friends, if we view social change, now let us try to understand social change. It has been introduced by the Durkheim. When Durkheim talked about the social change, he talked about that society as a whole as well as in each particular context tries to determine the type of education that has to be realized and could be realized, and this is how the social change is introduced through the education. And in fact, Durkheim has stated that education works as in a crucial terms as far as preserving the certain degrees of homogeneity as well as ingraining the essential elements of collective life. What does that mean? It means that whatever is of importance, that is ensured through the classroom, that those value system exist, and whatever the changes have to be introduced, that is also ensured in the classroom, that diversity is introduced in the class. So, from the Durkheim perspective, we have understood that education is a big tool. Now, let us try to understand the social change from the perspective of Karl Manhan. Karl Manhan in 1960 also explored the problem of social change and the social progress in relation to the education, and he explained that due to the fact that there was a lack of awareness in the social affairs as well as a lack of comprehensive sociological, the nation's leaders were, which he said also are the teachers, are to be educated in a way that they understand what is meaning of change, as well as they consciously are able to introduce changes in their class. So, if we understand the social change from the perspective of Manhan, that means that no teaching was sound unless it is trained to the people to be conscious of social situation and they find themselves. From this, what we can understand that why we are introducing B.Ed, why the teachers need to undergo training. Teachers need to undergo training so that they realize all those social situations. They are trained, as Manhan has stated, that they have to be trained, they have to be equipped. Only then they would be able to bring out social changes. So, as far as social educational innovation is concerned, that is a desired change. And if we introduced, when we are talking about the innovation, we are not just talking about the technological innovation, we are talking about the social innovation, political innovation, as well as socio-cultural innovation. So, we have to understand that if it has to be introduced, then it is more likely to be introduced as well as be effective as to produce a desired change if the innovation is coordinated in education. The education is coordinated with the other aspects of the society, that is social structure. Only then we can say that we would be able to bring the social change. And for that, effective planning has to be done. Some placements have to be done. We have to have not just the policies in place, but also we have to have the implementing agencies in place, and all of them sharing the same platform and increasing the facilities so that we can have the different kind of changes. That is why usually we say that the teachers are the one who mold individuals. Teachers are the one who molds nation, because they are the one who brings out the social change, and thereby they are the one who brings out social and economic development. Friends, we have to understand that economic development is not brought out in the business houses. That is planned in the education, and education has a role of preparing the businessman, preparing the technocrats, preparing the bureaucrats, and thereby bring out the economic development. So whenever we perceive the social change in the developing nation, we have to understand that we in education has to be molded in such a manner that it can cater to unsatisfied demand as well as create demand in the minds of the children for the social positions, and it should be perceived as a gateway for improving social positions. So social change, or if we talk from the sociological angle, so we know that we are teaching to our children in schools that they have to respect genders, they have to respect the girls around them. We are also teaching to the children at large in their classroom that they have to respect all religions, they have to respect all caste. Apart from that, we are also teaching them that the population needs to be controlled. We are also teaching them how environment has to be managed. All these aspects, why war is wrong, what kind of impact war has. So all these aspects are taught by the education as a tool. And of course, as various researchers have stated again and again, if we want to bring the structural changes, then education as a tool should be functioning not solely or alone, rather, and it should not be in conflict with the other agencies. Which are the other agencies? The other agencies, media is the most important agencies which bring out social change. So media, we can say the education, all of them have to come together to create a social movements, and it has been seen that the various social movements which have been created, may it be the independence of India. Independence of India is nothing but the result of certain social movements. And where did the social movement begin? That began in the universities. And who gave power to the students in the universities? They were the media, they were the press. So we have to understand that if we want to bring some kind of social change structurally, then all the other agents have to be on the same platform and have to perform as well as direct the social change to particular consequences and to particular effects. So friends, in today's lecture we have understood that how social mobility is generated by education, and apart from that we have also understood that what social change is and how education is working as a tool of the social change, may it be from the perspective of creating the citizens, good citizens of India, or may it be from the perspective of creating the technocrats, that is teaching the skill. So we have understood it. So on this note, I, Dr. Renu Tomar, is signing off with a promise to bring you some new topic or new area as to discuss, which will be of relevance to you as well as of interest to you. Namaskar. Very good afternoon. Thanks a lot for watching me.